Lolo Enki TV.
The Law of One. Book 3. Session 68. The 18th of August, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner, the primary reason that we decided to have this session today is that I might not be around for a while and I had a pressing question about what happened Sunday night when, apparently, the instrument was slipping into a trance state during one of the normal Sunday night meditations, and I would like to question you on this. Can you give me information about what happened? Ra, I am Ra. We can. Questioner, would you tell me what happened in that case? Ra, I am Ra. We have instructed this instrument to refrain from calling us unless it is within this set of circumscribed circumstances. In the event of which you speak, this instrument was asked a question which pertained to what you have been calling the Ra material. This instrument was providing the voice for our brothers and sisters of the wisdom density known to you as Latwii. This instrument thought to itself, I do not know this answer. I wish I were channeling Ra. The ones of Latwii found themselves in the position of being approached by the Orion entity which seeks to be of service in its own way. The instrument began to prepare for Ra contact. Latwii knew that if this was completed, the Orion entity would have an opportunity which Latwii wished to avoid. It is fortunate for this instrument, firstly, that Latwii is of fifth density and able to deal with that particular vibrator E complex which the Orion entity was manifesting, and, secondly, that there were those in the support group at that time which sent great amounts of support to the instrument in this crux. Thus what occurred was the ones of Latwii never let go of this instrument, although this came perilously close to breaking the way of confusion. It continued to hold its connection with the mind or Bodhi spirit complex of the instrument and to generate information through it even as the instrument began to slip out of its physical vehicle. The act of continued communication caused the entity to be unable to grasp the instrument's mind or Bodhi spirit complex, and after but a small measure of your space-time, Latwii recovered the now completely amalgamated instrument and gave it continued communication to steady it during the transition back into integration. Questioner, could you tell me what the plan of the fifth density negatively oriented entity was and how it would have accomplished it and what the results would have been if it had worked? Ra, I am Ra. The plan, which is ongoing, was to take the mind or Bodhi spirit complex while it was separated from its yellow body physical complex shell, to then place this mind or Bodhi spirit complex within the negative portions of your Tamiya space. The shell would then become that of the unknowing, unconscious entity and could be, shall we say, worked upon to cause malfunction which would end in coma and then in what you call the death of the body. At this point the higher self of the instrument would have the choice of leaving the mind or Bodhi spirit complex in negative SP, we correct, Tamiya space, or of allowing incarnation in space-time of equivalent vibration and polarity distortions. Thus this entity would become a negatively polarized entity without the advantage of native negative polarization. It would find a long path to the Creator under these circumstances, although the path would inevitably end well. Questioner, then you are saying that if this fifth density negative entity is successful in its attempts to transfer the mind or Bodhi spirit complex when that complex is in what we call the trance state to negatively polarized Tamiya space, then the higher self has no choice but to allow incarnation in negatively polarized space-time? Is that correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is incorrect. The higher self could allow the mind or Bodhi spirit complex to remain in Tamiya space. However, it is unlikely that the higher self would do so indefinitely due to its distortion towards the belief that the function of the mind or Bodhi spirit complex is to experience and learn from other selves, thus experiencing the Creator. A highly polarized positive mind or Bodhi spirit complex surrounded by negative portions of space-time will experience only darkness, for like the magnet, there is no, shall we say, likeness. Thus a barrier is automatically formed. Questioner, let me be sure that I understand you. Is that darkness experienced in negative space or time or in negative Tamiya space? Ra, I am Ra. Negative Tamiya space. Questioner, incarnation in negative space or time, then in a condition like that would result in incarnation into which density level 4, let us take as an example, the instrument? Ra, I am Ra. The answer to this query violates the first distortion. Questioner, okay then, let's not take the instrument as an example. Let's assume that this was done to a wanderer of 6th density. If this answer violates the first distortion, don't answer. But let's say a 6th density wanderer had this happen and went into negative Tamiya space. Would that be a 6th density negative Tamiya space, and would he incarnate into 6th density negative space or time? Ra, I am Ra. Your assumption is correct. The strength of the polarization would be matched as far as possible. In some positive 6th density wanderers the approximation would not quite be complete due to the paucity of negative 6th density energy fields of the equivalent strength. Questioner, is the reason that this could be done the fact that the wanderer's mind or body spirit complex extracted in what we call the trance state, leaving the 3rd density physical? In this state the wanderer does not have the full capability to magically defend itself. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. In the case of this instrument, this is correct. This is also correct when applied almost without exception to those instruments working in trance which have not consciously experienced magical training in Tamiya space in the, shall we say, present incarnation. The entities of your density capable of magical defense in this situation are extremely rare. Questioner, it would seem to me that since I can't imagine anything worse than this particular result, it would be very advisable to seek the magical training and defense for this situation. Could Ra and would Ra instruct us in this type of magical defense? Ra, I am Ra. This request lies beyond the first distortion. The entity seeking magical ability must do so in a certain manner. We may give instructions of a general nature. This we have already done. The instrument has begun the process of balancing the self. This is a lengthy process. To take an entity before it is ready and offer it the scepter of magical power is to infringe in an unbalanced manner. We may suggest with some asperity that the instrument never call upon Ra in any way while unprotected by the configuration which is at this time present. Questioner, I think that it is important for me to investigate the techniques, if they are within the first distortion, of the 5th density entity who wishes to displace the mind or body spirit complexes of this group. Am I within the first distortion in asking you to describe how this entity goes about this working? Ra, I am Ra. You are. Questioner, well, then, how does this 5th density entity go about this working from the very start of being alerted to the fact that we exist? Ra, I am Ra. The entity becomes aware of power. This power has the capacity of energizing those which may be available for harvest. This entity is desirous of disabling this power source. It sends its legions. Temptations are offered. They are ignored or rejected. The power source persists and indeed improves its inner connections of harmony and love of service. The entity determines that it must needs attempt the disabling itself. By means of projection it enters the vicinity of this power source. It assesses the situation. It is bound by the first distortion but may take advantage of any free will distortion. The free will, pre-incarnative distortions of the instrument with regards to the physical vehicle seem the most promising target. Any distortion away from service to others is also appropriate. When the instrument leaves its physical vehicle it does so freely. Thus the displacement of the mind or body spirit complex of the instrument would not be a violation of its free will if it followed the entity freely. This is the process. We are aware of your pressing desire to know how to become impervious as a group to any influences such as this. The processes which you seek are a matter of your free choice. You are aware of the principles of magical work. We cannot speak to advise but can only suggest, as we have before, that it would be appropriate for this group to embark upon such a path as a group, but not individually, for obvious reasons. Questioner: I am interested as to how the first distortion applies to the negatively polarized entity misplacing the mind or bodhi spirit complex. Why is the negatively polarized entity followed to the place of negative to me space? Why would one of us freely follow the entity? Ra, I am Ra. The positive polarity sees love in all things. The negative polarity is clever. Questioner: then I am assuming if the negative polarity used any other approach that did not use the free will of the other self, he would lose polarization and magical power. This is correct, isn't it? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. The transferred energy grows low. We wish to close. Are there any short queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner: only if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact. Ra, I am Ra. You are conscientious. We realize your necessity for these queries. All is well, my friends. We thank you and leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.